Welcome to The Burning of the Midnight Lamp, where we are dissecting music history, album by album, and track by track. And we are starting on a new album today. We are continuing on our reverse chronological David Bowie story, and that means that we have come to his 21st album, Earthling, from 1997. And today we're going to discuss the first track on this album, Little Wonder. We have already discussed this album at length in our podcast show, so if you want to hear more details around the recording of the album and the process around it, head over to our podcast, Burning Midnight Amp, to hear us discuss this album. And I think to begin with, we'll just listen to the song and then we'll discuss it afterwards.
Let's go.
Every morning, dog grumbling us. Little wonder then, little wonder. You little wonder you. Big screen doors, tips and explosions. Sleepy time, that's overviewed. Little wonder then, little wonder. You little wonder you. I'm getting it. Intergalactic. Seeming to be you, it's all in the tablets, sneezy return. Little wonder then, little wonder, you little wonder you. Mars happy nation, sit on my karma, day meditation, take me away.
there we are, the first track, Little Wonder, written by David Bowie, Reeves Gabrels, and Mark Plati.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Bowie live tracks, but the studio version it's also really good. But I don't know if I always prefer the live versions of this. I don't know about you.
Oh, it's a fun track, and I remember very well when the video first aired on MTV. This was 97 when I was 17 and waiting for a new Bowie single to be aired. And of course it was something unexpected, although we had gotten a taste of the things we were expecting on the album with the Telling Lies single. This was the drum and bass rock hybrid. Was not on the Telling Lies single because the album version was not on the single. They were more pure drum and bass. So this was something new.
It's a very good introduction to the album.
Yes, it is. It tells you what we're to expect. It's a great statement, opening statement. This is the intent. We will mix rhythm, drum and bass rhythm, and other rhythms with rock and also some odd stuff.
Yeah,
There's a lengthy instrumental part here where they just go scavenging around the studio for sounds and fun stuff and just throw it in the mix.
I don't think it's so very often you hear as a train whistle or a boat whistle that is being used throughout. It's a very cool loop in there.
It is, and I think the track was, I can't remember exactly how long, but maybe twice the length or...
No, it
10,
is 6
11,
minutes
12.
long on the album. It was intended to be a 9-minute
9 minutes. Yeah.
jungle opus.
Ah, yeah.
Yes, and they shortened these found sounds middle part, and I think this is just the right length for an album track. Of course, it's much shorter on the single.
Yeah, this middle part is it's a bit like you are listening to a DJ that is just looping things and going a bit crazy. It's fun. I don't think the song would have been worse for it being like 5 minutes instead of 6. But
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it would have been worse for it if we had 3 additional minutes of that in the middle.
Definitely.
most likely.
where
Yeah.
I assume
Yeah.
is where they added the extra.
It must be right.
It reminds me of these 80s studio-produced albums, the Trevor Horn, Art of Noise, Yellow, those stuff, where they just, extend it with bits and pieces in the studio. But Bowie and Plati and Gabrels, they managed to keep this coherent because it's obviously now this is the jam part, but they jam with bits and stuff from the studio instead of going off on whatever.
Earthling is often regarded as Bowie's jungle or drum and bass album, although actually less than half of the songs are drum and bass.
Yeah.
But still, it's a very good. I mean, obviously, this is one of those drum and bass tracks, and the rock part is very, very clearly heard in the chorus. So far away, which I mean, I like the whole track, instrumental bit in the middle, the jungle parts in the beginning, the verses. But the highlight for me in the song is the chorus, the so far away part. Very powerful.
Okay, I thought you were going to say the opposite. So
No.
I was expecting to be surprised. But no,
No,
okay.
no.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the chorus.
And you mentioned the live version, and that's probably also where that's really good live.
It's like a spaceship that's just lifting. It's really cool.
And they do the chorus in 2 different ways, because the first time the chorus comes, the drums are
It's like it's half time.
half time,
time.
like so the song stops, goes slower, and the drum and bass drums are very far in the mix, because you've had these frantic drums during the intro and the verse, and then the floor drops out. But when it comes back, after the instrumental bit, it's full on drum, and it's you get the feeling it's exhilarating. It's so powerful.
It is.
Just repeats and repeats.
This is one of the Bowie songs that I probably listened to a zillion times, and I still think that, God, that's a brilliant track.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, as we talked about in the podcast, where they're coming out of outside, which is very dominated by improvisation, and we discussed how this is a very constructed album. It's constructed in the studio, sitting in front of a computer, basically putting bits and pieces together, and this is exactly what they did on this track. Of course, then afterwards, live overdubs with the band on top of it. So the story goes that Gabrels and Plati was sitting alone in the studio one day because Bowie was busy elsewhere. And they started making all these sound bits and small files, noodling around with Gabrels on the guitar and just a whole bunch of different sounds, creating a library if you want. Mark Plati had to go home after some time to his daughter, and Plati was left alone in the studio Gabrels was left alone in the studio with Plati's assistant, and he created all of these different sounds. The next day, Bowie come in, loved it, suggested rearrangements, how it should be arranged, created the chord structure for the verses, which Plati essentially says is a 50s doo-wop chord structure, except the last chord, which is a half step up from what you normally would hear, which Plati said was very Bowie-esque thing to do. So that was basically it. But by creating this sort of library of sounds, it was enough for three other songs on the album. So you can hear it a little bit in 7 Years in Tibet, which I think is the screeching guitar noises. Yeah. Battle for Britain, when you think about it, very similar to Little Wonder, same sort of thunderous guitar intro, and The Last Thing You Should Do, which is also very much constructed in the studio. And all of this came from sort of the pool of noises and sounds that they had made available for this song. So I think that's a quite cool thing. Yeah, it was not The Last Thing You Should Do, it was Law. That was the fourth song that they used these sound bits from.
Yeah.
Because Bowie then coming in and writing the chords, he also started putting down the lyrics, which he wrote on Post-it notes, took it into the studio, sang it in one take, and that was it. It was meant to be a guide vocal, but they never re-recorded it. So this is written immediately after Bowie wrote the lyrics.
I always assume this song has not really a deeper meaning, but I could be wrong.
Well, according to Bowie, there are a number of jokey self-references thrown in for good measure. Sit on my karma, day meditation. But his goal was to mention all the seven dwarfs from Snow White. So we have dopey, duck, grumpy, sleepy, bashful, sneezy, and happy. And then he ran out of gnomes, so he created a few ones on his own. So we have also stinky and shaky, maybe day meditation as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Could be a follow-up to The Laughing Gnome.
Yeah. And the whole reason for it was that they had received a Disney catalog in the junk mail to the studio. Apparently because Plati had a young daughter, but I was thinking, why would they send it to the studio, not to his home then? Maybe he brought it to the studio.
Yeah.
But anyway, Boy was looking through this catalog and he wanted to order a Snow White costume and suggested that Gabrels could order a Tigger suit, which he did. Yeah. And then he wrote the lyrics.
I'm waiting for the punchline of the story.
He was never wearing it on stage.
Yeah,
was he?
did he use it?
Maybe he didn't order it to himself. The story says nothing about that.
It only says that he actually bought it, but it doesn't say what he used it for.
No, the lyrics are, of course, funny, and the way he sings it as well. This is the Cockney Bowie returns. So it's a new genre, Cockney drum and bass, Britpop. Because I think the chorus, and maybe the frock coat with a Union Jack on the cover, and I get some Britpop associations. And of course the Battle for Britain song title. So there are some British signifiers here. I don't know how much Cockney cabaret singing the other drum and bass artists were using at the time. I would assume there were none. So this was maybe a first.
Maybe. Yeah, they were British, a lot of those jungle and drum and bass artists as well. So
yeah, you could. It was a British genre.
Yeah, so after the vocal was recorded, Gaylan Dorsey, the bassist, Zachary Alford on drums, and Mike Garson on keyboards came in, and they did overdubs for the track. Garson doing the harpsichord pad that we hear in the beginning. And the bass track that we hear in the instrumental middle section, that's actually just Dorsey trying out to get the different sounds from a pedal board that she had bought, or wasn't even aware that she was recorded by Mark Plotty. And Mark Plotty then just used these bits in between there. And I wonder if they do that on at least another track as well.
Well, it's a studio classic to record artists when they're not paying attention.
Yeah. And we also hear a proper sample, you could say, in that instrumental section as well. If it's good, if it's good to you, what's it said? If it's good to you, it's got to be good for you.
Steely Dan.
It's from a Steely Dan live show recorded in 1974, spoken by a drunk roadie called Jerome Aniton.
Did he get credit for this?
I don't think so. Been recognized by fans. I wonder if I've heard it actually. So and can also mention the jungle rhythm here. That is a very standard jungle rhythm, you could say. So it's based on the Amen break, famous Amen break from the Amen Brother song, 1969 B-side by the US band The Winstons, played by G.C. Coleman. Has been
overused.
There's a separate documentary only on that drum break. Very interesting to hear how many places that song has been, or that drum loop has been used.
We'll check that out.
It's basically the basis for hip hop music and drum and bass music, and probably lots of other things. It's a very interesting one. We mentioned that this was the first single, or it is the first single from the album, released a week before the album came out, 27th of January 1997. It's the most successful single on the album, reaching number 14 on the UK singles chart, which also reaching number 10 in Finland and 19 in Belgium, but didn't chart much elsewhere. And I'm not going to go through all the remixes and formats because there are numerous remixes and edits across various formats of this song. So you have the album version, which is 6 minutes long. There's a single edit that is 3:40. And there's a censored video edit by Mark Plotty. Junior Vasquez made 4 remixes.
I wonder what they censored. Do we know?
Yeah, there are no explicit words in
No.
the lyrics.
Well.
bashful but nude. No, I don't know.
Tits,
Tits and explosion. Yeah, could be.
beep, and explosions. Maybe that's
Yeah,
how the version goes.
Is it an explosion or exposure?
explosion.
Explosion. Okay.
Well, it is mentioned that that line represents things that were very typical for an action movie in the 90s.
True.
Not only the 90s, maybe.
Yeah. And in addition, Danny Saber made 2 mixes of the song. So there are 9 versions in all, non-live versions. And these were distributed on 2 different UK CD singles and a 12-inch single. There were 4 different versions of the single in Europe, including one 12-inch vinyl one. The US only got one CD single, and Japan got 1 CD single. And as far as I can tell, they all have different constellations. None of them are identical. So if you are a true collector, you would run into trouble here.
You never got any of these singles?
Only one, the standard Scandinavian one with a Vasquez mix.
There were also the Telling Lies Adam F mix and a left-wheeled 12-inch vocal mix of Jump They Say on some of these versions as well.
It had an interesting cover image.
Yeah.
It's one of the what's it called, Carillion photos made in the 70s by Bowie.
Taken in April 1975.
Yeah.
It's a machinery that he got from Dr. Thelma Moss at UCLA's Department of Parapsychology. I wonder if I read somewhere that the whole apparatus had been created by NASA or something like that. But I could be wrong. Apparently, it says you place an object on a photographic film on top of a metal plate and run high voltage through it to get the exposure. And apparently that will show the aura of the object. So Bowie took 2 photos of it. He put his fingertip on it and a crucifix. And there was one image before and after he had taken cocaine. And apparently there's a big difference in the aura of these objects before and after. So one of these images were used as a cover for the single, and it's also used inside the opening cover. But it's a cool photo.
It's a cool photo, and I remember I liked it a lot better than the album cover when that was released some time later. But I like both today.
I like the album cover. It's a very striking image.
It is, yeah. But
very recognizable.
It's very recognizable. I was never sure that they used the right photo, though. Like the background photo.
Oh, but
I don't know.
It's a Windows
it's a
background.
Green hills of England.
Yes.
Always looking over.
It's not so much England either, but yeah.
Longing to go back home, maybe. I don't know.
The green and pleasant land of William Blake.
Yeah.
But it's very saturated background image. And
That there is.
It indeed looks like a Windows background image, as you say.
Yeah, Bowie's pasted upon it, and he has this very cool frock coat by Alexander McQueen, being cut up or burnt or, it's in need of repair.
It looks like he's been touring in it for some years.
And Bowie's got this flame red haircut. We can't see his goatee. Yeah, it's the last time he really had an image on stage and in videos that was more flamboyant. More like a costume.
Yeah.
The last gasp of the costume Bowie.
Yeah, he was more ordinary dressed after this.
Yeah.
Still very well dressed, though.
Of course. Fashionista.
Yeah. There was a music video created for the song. which is right in the middle of music video age, directed by Floria Sigismundi.
Yes, this is the time where we would wait for a video to be aired, not for it to be played on radio, but the video was the highlight.
You would actually wait ready with the record button so that you could capture it on VHS, so you could watch it whenever you wanted.
That's how it was, kids. That we know the struggle. Well, the video was brilliant by Floria Sigismundi, who did other videos for Bowie as well.
Dead Man Walking and The Stars Are Out Tonight and the next day.
Yeah. And in the video, she also used video installations by, what's he called? Tony Ausler.
Ausler, yeah.
That he also used in the Where Are We Now video, and he used it on stage on the Earthling tour.
Yeah, it became quite a common thing to see around Bowie. I think this is the first time we see it.
It is the
connection
first time
to Bowie.
we see it, yeah.
So it's these
video projections of eyes and
mouths
and being projected onto dolls or
looks scary
pillows,
or freakishly creepy.
Enormously powerful images.
It depicts Bowie and Ziggy Stardust-ish figure in a New York subway stations, New York streets. A lot of distorting images.
And that's the briefcase as well that he picks up.
Shifting film speeds.
Yeah.
Very typical for the time.
And for Sigismundi.
Yeah.
And then they're in this all derelict house with the paint falling off the wall, and which she used a lot with Tricky and Merlin Manson and many other of those. The scary bunch in the 90s, and it fits Bowie very well, and it fits the song very well.
Yeah. And the time.
Of course, yeah.
It's very mid-90s.
You can see the video with no sound and place it easily. 1997.
It was nominated for Best British Video at the 1998 Brit Awards. Lost to Never Ever by All Saints.
Yeah, no wonder. That's an amazing video. I'm being sarcastic. I
don't remember.
I have no idea.
Well, you never know with Tron.
Well, for all we know, it could have been.
Yes, it could.
I can't remember it.
No, me neither.
I don't think I was ever listening a lot to.
I do remember All Saints.
Yeah, remember the name.
Yeah.
So, song was first performed the 7th of September 1996. So this is half a year before the album came out. They were playing a few late or autumn shows after the Outside Summer Tour. So this was in Washington, D.C. That's when it was premiered as the encore of the show. And it opened his 50th birthday concert on 9th of January 1997. And that recording actually was released on the Earthling in the City EP. He then performed the song on Saturday Night Live in February 1997, just as the album came out, at the GQ Awards in New York in October. And that is the version that we hear on liveandwell.com, live album. And there's another version of the Earthling Tour that was released in 2021 on Look at the Moon album from the Phoenix Festival in 97. Bowie also performed it at the Glastonbury Festival, 25th of June 2000, which was released in 2018. And he played it at Bowie at the Beeb concert.
Yeah, a brilliant version in there as well.
So there are 5 released live versions in all of the songs, which is quite a lot. All in all, performed 96 times by Bowie, which is far from the most. There are several songs that are played more on the Earthling Tour, which we'll come back to in later episodes. There are no significant cover versions of it, although there are some. Danish jazz singer called Cecilie Nordby did an awful drum and bass version of it in 2006. And the Ludovico treatment covered the whole album, actually, and does a 50s ballad version of it. That's actually quite cool. The rest of the album is not that great, though, or more odd.
Maybe they had one great cover version and they thought, let's do the whole album.
Maybe.
Typical.
You mean they had One Little Wonder?
One Little
Ding.
Wonder. Yeah. Any last comments before we leave it?
Well, if you haven't listened to the live and well version, go
Yeah.
out and do it now.
That's a brilliant version. I agree. It has more, even more power.
It does.
So, if you have any opinion on the song, leave us a comment below. Also remember to like and subscribe to get notified when we drop new videos. We'll be back in a couple of days with the next track on this album, Looking for Satellites. We also have a podcast, as we already mentioned during this recording, where we are discussing the whole album and other albums. We also have a Patreon where you can get early access to all the songs from this album and future albums that we'll do, if you want to support us there. And then it's only for us to say goodbye and have a nice day, and we'll see you in a couple of days.
Goodbye.
See you soon. Don't go too far away.